When a forensic specialist crosses the line and takes up a weapon themselves, the question arises, where is the boundary between knowledge of a crime and an attraction to it? What makes a person dangerous? A gun in the palm? Malice read in their expression? Or, on the contrary, calmness on the face, backed by the knowledge of how bodies disappear, how investigators read clues, and how these clues can be turned into mist? Ashley MacArthur, a woman from Pensacola, Florida, with a background in forensics and a husband who is a police officer, at first glance, doesn't look like a killer at all. Outwardly, she looks like a typical front office employee, more like a polite receptionist than a suspect in a disappearance case. But it's precisely such people who cause the deepest concern. They are among those who are trusted unconditionally, which means betrayal from them feels especially painful. This story is not just about greed. It's a tale of betrayal, blind trust, and the point where money becomes a motive for murder. Just $34,000, and a life falls apart. The events unfold against the backdrop of the sweltering, humid Florida in September 2017. Here are false messages, unfulfilled love lines, ruined destinies, and a shallow grave. Prologue: friendship, divorce, and money. At first glance, it all started almost mundanely. Taylor Wright, a 33-year-old woman who had recently left the police force, was at the center of a personal storm. Divorce, complicated relations with her ex-husband named Jeff, and the loss of family support. Her son stayed with his father, while she was left with debts, alimony obligations, and a desperate attempt to maintain control over her life, at least outwardly. As is often the case in legal conflicts, Taylor took a desperate step. She withdrew money from the joint account. Impulsively, almost instinctively. Not to escape or spend, but to protect herself. The amount was substantial, $34,000. The judge ordered her to return it immediately, hinting that otherwise, imprisonment was imminent. In search of a solution, she decides to hide the money, not at her place too risky. She chooses Ashley MacArthur, a woman she had grown close to, a year before. At that time, Ashley was no longer working in forensics and was running the family business, servicing jukeboxes and bars. But in the past, she was a forensic expert, only for 6 months, but in Taylor's eyes, that was enough to consider her trustworthy. Moreover, Ashley was married to a police officer, a colleague of Taylor's. The world turned out to be small, the connections tight. Everything seemed right, safe, almost homely. A classic mistake. We tend to judge people by their past, by who they were. But time changes not only appearances. It also alters the essence. Disappearance. In early September 2017, Taylor Wright felt the noose slowly but inexorably tightening. The court hearing was approaching, and the money needed to be returned. The $34,000 she had entrusted to Ashley MacArthur now turned into a burden. Taylor tried to arrange a meeting, asking for the return of what belonged to her. But Ashley kept evading. She promised, postponed, and came up with excuses. Taylor was getting frustrated, but beneath the frustration, worry was growing. On Friday, September 8th, Ashley finally arrived. According to her, they were supposed to go to the bank. But the trip to the bank turned into a disappearance. After 11:30 in the morning, Taylor stopped responding. No answers, no calls, no news. By evening, her girlfriend, Cassandra, raised the alarm. But the police took her words with indifference. An adult has the right to privacy. That was their approach. The absence of signs of violence was not considered a reason for immediate action. Cassandra tried to explain, Taylor isn't the type to just disappear. She wouldn't leave her son or cut off contact without a reason. Later, Cassandra received a message on her phone, supposedly, from Taylor. It said that she wanted to be alone. But the tone was unfamiliar. The message sounded like it was written by the book, without soul, without her recognizable heartfelt touch. Cassandra didn't believe it, and she was right. A friend who shouldn't be trusted. What was really happening didn't become clear right away. Weeks passed before the pieces of the puzzle began to come together. Ashley MacArthur's version seemed strange from the very beginning. She claimed that they went horseback riding that day, and then Taylor supposedly called a taxi and went to a bar. All of this sounded implausible and too calm. Ashley spoke as if she were reciting a memorized script, no anxiety, no trace of worry, and most importantly, not the slightest initiative to help in the search. phone data shattered this fabricated picture. An analysis of cell network signals showed they were neither at the bank nor at the bar. Instead, both devices, Taylor's and Ashley's, were recorded on the grounds of the MacArthur family's farm. A secluded place away from prying eyes and ears, where nothing interferes, either people nor cameras. On October 19th, the police conducted a search. In a shallow grave, they discovered Taylor's body. She was shot. A shot to the back of the head. No attempt to hide or disguise. Just earth and a body. As if the killer was confident that no one would search. Or if they did, it would be too late. Text messages from a dead woman. After the murder, Ashley MacArthur used Taylor's phone for several more days. She sent messages to her girlfriend and other people, trying to maintain the illusion that Taylor had gone away on business and was asking not to be disturbed. These messages seemed strange, cold, detached. They didn't resemble the style in which Taylor usually communicated with her loved ones. No warmth, no humor, no characteristic words and expressions, only dry phrases, as if assembled by instruction. This raised suspicions. Such changes in speech patterns are a warning sign, and forensic experts know how to read them. Psycholinguistic analysis of such texts has long been part of the practice. It soon became clear that it wasn't Taylor writing, but someone else, a person trying not to make mistakes. And it's precisely this effort that gives him away. Interestingly, it was Ashley's attempt to appear detached that led to her downfall. Those who forge someone else's speech often instinctively remove emotions from it to avoid overdoing it. The result is an impassive text, devoid of intonation and a recognizable voice. It turns out to be exactly what a person would never write themselves. Motivation, money, and a lover. While Taylor desperately tried to get her money back, Ashley MacArthur was already spending it. Not discreetly, not out of necessity, but provocatively, as if those $34,000 belonged to her. The money was going to her lover, Brandon Beecham, the owner of a bar with a flashy name, Sticks Billiards. It wasn't just wastefulness, it was a spectacle. Ashley bought a motorcycle and a boat, gifted weapons, possibly not for the gesture, but for the feeling of power. It wasn't romance, but a demonstration, a need to please, to buy favor, to build an image. Who was she at that moment? The main character of a police thriller or a director confident that she controls the plot? But when Taylor began to insist, demanding her money back, Ashley made a choice, and chose murder. It wasn't her first impulse towards violence. Earlier, she had already tried to get rid of Taylor by mixing cocaine into her beer. Taylor noticed the strange taste and became suspicious, and didn't drink it. It didn't work. So, the old-fashioned way, a bullet to the back of the head, a shallow grave. No traces, no witnesses, no chance for a second chance. And all this for a person who, according to his own words, didn't feel any special attachment to her. Brandon openly told the police he had others. Relationships alongside Ashley. He saw the gifts as a pleasant bonus, nothing more. A bitter contrast. For fleeting attention, for the illusion of love, Ashley resorted to betrayal and killed a woman who trusted her. The course of the investigation. Initially, Ashley MacArthur was arrested not for murder. She was caught forging contracts and slipping fake documents to the owners of establishments where she placed jukeboxes. That's what she was taken in for. The irony is that the criminal system responds to financial violations faster than to the disappearance of an adult. A fact that inadvertently casts a shadow on the very principle of justice. What, in the end, is valued more, human life or money? During interrogations, Ashley behaved calmly, even too calmly, polite, smiling. She didn't avoid meetings with the police, nor did she show a hint of concern. She said the same thing, as if scripted, without hesitation. Almost all the officers who worked with her noted her behavior was alarming. It was not natural. Such absolute calm is often seen in those who have themselves once worked with evidence. Panic gives you away, calmness can deceive. One of Ashley's fatal mistakes was the recording from the gas station. The camera captured her buying gasoline in a canister. Later, a charred mobile phone was found on the farm grounds. The examination showed it was one of the old phones. Taylor's. The flames were supposed to destroy the traces, but they didn't destroy everything. Ashley tried to erase the digital traces, but she did it hastily and carelessly. Yet, the case truly progressed thanks to one woman, Casa Endra, Taylor's girlfriend. Despite the coldness between them in recent weeks, she was the one who didn't let the case fade away. She called, wrote, persisted, pressured the police, reached out to journalists, and made noise. She talked about the strange messages, shared her suspicions about Ashley, and it was her persistence that became the key that opened the way to the investigation. Digital traces. The MacArthur case became exemplary. It widely utilized so-called digital traces. They were left by Ashley MacArthur, and they became one of the main reasons why the prosecution's version seemed so convincing. The most important were the cell phone data networks. Ashley's and Taylor's phones were simultaneously recorded at the same location, on the MacArthur family farm. Not in the city, not at the bank, and not at the bar, as Ashley claimed, but exactly where the body was later found. This deprived her of an alibi. The movement history also contradicted her statements. The locations recorded by GPS and cell towers told a completely different story. On top of this false foundation collapsed another piece of evidence. After Taylor's disappearance, messages continued to come from her phone. But their style raised doubts. Linguistic experts analyzed the text and concluded it was written by a different person. The intonations didn't match, and the manner of communication was foreign. When investigators began examining all communication channels, something more concrete was discovered, a video recording from a gas station. In it, Ashley was buying gasoline in a canister. Later, during a search of the farm, they found a cell phone, one of Taylor's old devices. Obviously, Ashley tried to destroy the evidence, but did so clumsily, and not completely. Added to this were recorded expenses, a motorcycle, a boat, weapons. All of this was purchased with the money that Taylor entrusted to Ashley. She was the very sum she wanted to protect from the court. The digital trail left by these purchases ultimately exposed her. This data, seemingly insignificant at first glance, and scattered, formed a powerful, consistent array. It was the digital logic that shattered the illusion and confirmed the truth. Playing to the audience during the trial. At the trial, Ashley MacArthur tried to build the image of a victim of circumstances. She appeared in strict, modest outfits, trying to look restrained and impressive. Her behavior remained the same as during the interrogations, emotionless, without agitation. The defense relied on the lack of direct evidence. No one saw the actual murder. No one heard the shot. Everything, they claimed, could be different. But reality was not on the side of theories. The collection of circumstantial evidence was unbreakable. Before the main trial, Ashley had already been convicted for those very schemes with musical machines. 7 years of imprisonment. But that was only a prelude. In August 2019, the main trial began. The defense continued to insist there is no evidence in the classical sense. Everything is only circumstantial. But for the jury, that was enough. They were not deceived by the image, nor convinced by the ostentatious restraint. Behavior, lies, digital traces, financial motive, everything matched. On August 30th, Ashley MacArthur was found guilty of first-degree premeditated murder. The sentence, life imprisonment, without the possibility of parole. The fates of MacArthur and Taylor. From childhood, Ashley MacArthur, born in the year 1977, lived in a world where they knew not only how business was run, but also how to circumvent the law. It wasn't a criminal environment in the classic sense. Rather, an old, warm, almost respectable Florida, where much was decided through personal connections, not through tax forms, small deceptions, unaccounted cash, agreements based on mutual understanding. All of this was part of life. She received an education, but the details are unknown. At some point, she decided to try her hand at forensics. She got a job in the Escambia County Sheriff's Office, but she worked there for only about 6 months. She left supposedly due to health reasons after an accident and complaints about her back. But colleagues said the real reason was different. Ashley didn't fit in with the discipline, where one needs to obey and follow the rules. She never felt like part of a strict system. Her comfort zone was more in the gray area between the law and personal interest. Later, she married a police officer named Zach MacArthur. It was through him that she met Taylor. Ashley had charisma and the ability to win people over. In the bar scene, where she mingled both for business and pleasure, she was considered the life of the party. But behind the charm was calculation. and distance. She chose friends like one chooses business partners, useful or not. According to testimonies, she had a clear behavioral pattern, risk, schemes, excitement, infatuations, generous gifts, all the while maintaining absolute outward calm. For people like her, the world is divided into those who get ahead first and those who are left behind. Unfortunately, she tried to prove her point at the cost of someone else's life. Taylor Wright was 6 years younger. She grew up in a different environment where hard work, discipline, and inner honesty were important. Those close to her recalled that she had an internal compass from a young age. She didn't just strive for order. She sensed where the line was drawn between right and permissible. Not naive, but straightforward, she often confronted things head-on, without making allowances for herself or others. Such a character easily leads to sharp conflicts with both the system and those close to her. In the police force, she rose to the rank of detective, but later left the service. Some said it was due to burnout. Others thought she wanted to focus on her personal life and her son named Drake. Her marriage to a man named Jeff ended in a difficult divorce, involving the division of property and a custody battle over the child. The court awarded custody to the father, and Taylor was required to pay child support. This was a heavy blow, but it didn't break her. According to friends, she remained strong and determined. She tried to start a new life with a woman named Cassandra. She didn't want to be weak, which is why she decided to take a risk. She withdrew money from her account to at least regain some sense of control. Importantly, even while experiencing personal disasters, Taylor remained a person deeply oriented towards justice. She sought it not in the law, but in human actions. Taylor was a person who had her stability, child, and faith in justice taken away. But she still tried to live honestly. Both women came from a world where they faced the consequences of crimes daily. But one lived to seek justice, the other to circumvent it. Like Ashley is serving her sentence. Today, Ashley MacArthur is in Lowell, the largest women's correctional facility in Florida, located in the city of Ocala. The prison is managed by the Department of Corrections of the state. Life imprisonment without the possibility of parole is her sentence. Additionally, 7 years are formally recorded against her for a fraud case. But these terms no longer matter. Fate does not grant leniency when it comes to premeditated murder. Several years have passed since the sentencing. No appeals. No statements, no interviews. Unlike other inmates, Ashley does not seek to speak, does not give interviews, does not look for attention. She has disappeared, not only from the map of the world but also from the public's interest. And this is perhaps the most fitting conclusion to her journey. One might wonder if her silence is acceptance or waiting, resignation or strategy. Sometimes, people who have committed a crime over the years try to tell their side of the story, to rewrite the past. But Ashley chose silence. Or perhaps silence chose her. While she lives according to the routine of the correctional facility, her name slowly dissolves into the archives. And the story, in which greed and betrayal triumphed over trust, remains on the surface. As a reminder, that tragedy does not always begin with rage. Sometimes it begins with a smile. Evil does not have a face. This story does not leave a light aftertaste. It leaves a heaviness, like an unsolved mystery, where everything seems clear, yet one thing remains unclear. How? How did a person who studied the evidence become evidence themselves? How does someone who is trusted turn into someone who shoots in the back of the head? Maybe the answer is simple. Evil does not have a single face. It can be quiet, it can smile, it can even wear a uniform. But when trust is broken, it does so silently, and the shards cut much deeper than bullets.